This type of political attention on big projects that are going to take decades to happen and not attention on the energy we can save today is a recipe for more expense to Canadians, right? And less benefit to Canadians for things like extreme heat. So we need to, talk about how we need to have an energy policy which is much more focused on people, which is energy efficiency is about, instead of paying for power plants, we actually pay people to become more energy efficient. We pay people to use energy at different times.
We're here on the second day of the International Energy Agency's Global Energy Efficiency Conference in Montreal, and it's a good day. It must be a good day because we're getting to start with a conversation with Brendan Haley, Senior Director of Policy Strategy at Efficiency Canada. Welcome, Brendan.
Thanks.
You seemed pretty pleased Monday morning when Environment Minister Julie DeBruisman announced that 4 more provinces were joining the Canada Greener Homes Affordability Program. This is almost 2 years after Efficiency Canada launched its Canada Home Energy Justice Conference to bring attention to energy poverty issues in Canada. And we should all be marking our calendars for this year's conference, October 6th and 7th. And Brenda did not know I was going to tell you that. It's just 5 provinces. Manitoba signed on last fall. It's still only 35,000 homes. What makes this announcement so important?
Well, I think for my organization and the energy efficiency advocates in Canada, it's been years and years and years of advocacy to have a program that was dedicated to low-income households. Because throughout most of the Trudeau administration, there were energy efficiency programs, but there was a big gap on the low-income side. So it is nice to see the programs finally getting into the market. It has taken some time, but for us, we realize how much work it was to essentially bring this from something completely off the political radar to the thing they wanted to announce at this international conference. So I think that's a good sign.
Okay. You said that it's essential that the federal government not follow its recent practice of announcing a new program, then killing it off when it's so popular that it runs out of funds ahead of schedule. And those weren't your words, but we've both seen it happen too many times. After yesterday's announcement, you had some thoughts on what it would take to deliver stable funding for low-income energy efficiency over the decades that it will take to eradicate energy poverty.
Yeah, I think that's the question. I mean, it's a bit funny because originally the message we were trying to deliver was that there were a loan program and there was a grant program that middle-income households could access, but there was a gap on the low-income side. Well, now there's a gap on the middle-income side because those other programs ran out of money and then were just abruptly canceled. So how do we, for this low-income program, how do we not see that happen again? How do we not see history repeat itself?
So how do we do that?
Well, I mean, one thing is that right now there's a program, but there's really no objective associated with the program.
No targets. We don't want targets. We want deliverables, right?
But it would be good deliverables. Yes, so it's good to have.
We do want deliverables. That's the thing.
That are actually doing things. But at the same time, I think we should have a goal to eliminate energy poverty in this country. And if that is our goal, that should really define how we measure success of this program and how long the program should continue. And at this conference, we're actually seeing the International Energy Agency push Canada a little bit more towards that goal. There's data collection being done on energy poverty. There's a ministerial roundtable that the IEA launched on electricity affordability. So a framework in Canada to say our goal around affordability should really be, part of it should be eliminating energy poverty. Hopefully will help provide some durability to this program. But we also know real durability for a program like this is going to come from people saying it's good, it's useful, it matters. So we also really need to do that mobilization politically to support programs like this.
And you were also saying yesterday that in the 5 provinces and 3 territories where there still isn't a program, people are going to have to say we want this here as well.
I think the question to ask is if those provinces and territories are going to take advantage of this federal money. I would suspect most of them will, but we do not know yet if every single province is going to take advantage of this federal money, so it is a good question to ask your provincial political leaders if that's going to be the case.
It occurs to me that the province we're probably not naming by name here also has one of Canada's strongest property assessed clean energy programs, but that's not a low income energy efficiency program.
So are you thinking about Alberta? Is that what you're
Oh my
thinking
God!
about?
They who shall not. Yes, you named them. You named them.
Wow,
Okay, all right.
Yes, skill testing question.
Well
Okay.
done.
Yeah, I mean, Alberta has had a low-income program that has been delivered at the municipal level. So every single province and territory has something they can build from.
So they've got the structure, they've got the system.
Yeah, often
federal money is available. Who could ask for anything more apart from a pipeline?
Well, we'll see. As I said, we don't really know. All the provinces haven't rolled out there.
Yeah.
But often the scarcest thing in public policy is attention. So some of this might simply be lack of attention of provincial governments saying, yes, we will do this. And that is why it's really useful to have some media coverage on this, why it's really useful for people to raise their voices and ask questions to their provincial governments.
Okay. You've been talking about the energy security and resilience issues. You've been talking about the energy security and resilience issues that basically amount to too many households too often having to choose between food and fuel. At this conference, the talk is about security and resilience in a very different context. We're about to start day 2. How are you finding the conference so far? As a whole?
I mean, as a whole, it's pretty interesting to see people from across the world who are all very focused on energy efficiency. It's all different facets. It's low-income programs like this. It's extreme heat in India. Yes. It's the amazing energy savings you can get on the industrial side by reducing friction through ball bearings. So it really covers the gamut. I think there's a real disconnect between what we hear some of the political leaders saying and what we actually hear some of the utilities saying in Canada. I mean, we've had presentations from British Columbia Hydro, Hydro-Quebec, and they are saying, we will take as many electricity savings as we possibly can. The best way for us to deal with upcoming load growth is through electricity savings. You've got, this is something that these utilities have not been saying. 7 years ago, they did not see the value in electricity savings. Now they do. But on the political side, it doesn't seem like there's that same understanding of on the ground what we could do today. There's talk about things like, let's build nuclear plants, which are going to be very expensive and take a very long time to build, instead of more concrete things that we can actually do to help people with affordability and free up some electricity to power our economies.
That was something I wanted to ask you about, because yesterday we heard the IEA's Executive Director of the TV role and Canada's Finance Minister, François-Philippe Champagne, between their fireside session right after lunch and then a media scrum afterwards. We heard them talk for more than an hour at a Global Energy Efficiency Conference, and they talked about aspects of energy security that have to do with oil and gas, but they rarely mentioned, I was having trouble, you weren't mentioning Alberta. They seem to be having trouble mentioning energy efficiency. What's behind that, and where is there more work still to be done?
I mean, one of the reasons I like working on energy efficiency is I feel useful, because it is easily neglected, often neglected. You're often the person saying, hey, over here. So having difficulties attracting attention compared to, energy generation sources is not a new thing, is forever thus.
But they called their conference energy efficiency.
Yes.
I mean,
it's a bit of a dose of reality of how much work we have to do.
Sure.
And for example, again, I think it's a recipe. This type of political attention on big projects that are going to take decades to happen, and not attention on the energy we can save today, is a recipe for more expense to Canadians, right? And less benefit to Canadians for things like extreme heat. So we need to, talk about how we need to have an energy policy which is much more focused on people, which is energy efficiency is about, instead of paying for power plants, we actually pay people to become more energy efficient. We pay people to use energy at different times. One of the things that I noted was the finance minister noted nuclear as a service was something we could do, which was this idea, I guess, that we could easily build a nuclear plant in a foreign country. That's fine, but I would love us to get more excited, even more excited about energy as a service, because if we can deliver energy as a service to companies, we may improve their productivity. If we can deliver it to households, you essentially replace, which is a very difficult thing to do, but can be done, through innovative financing strategies. You essentially replace a very volatile energy bill with a quite stable one, with someone else working with you on the performance of your home. It's a game changer for household affordability and household performance. That is something we should be excited about here in the country.
And when you say avoid the future volatility for an organization operating at the level of the IEA, it also means avoiding the next round of war and price shock that we've seen twice in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
That brings it to the kind of conversation we're having this week.
Certainly, Fatih Birol did bring it back to energy efficiency a number of times, and you don't really have to pick a side in terms of some of the debates we're having in Canada about resource exports to be in support of energy efficiency. Because the more energy efficient we are, the more energy we save, the more we get to export. And so it makes sense whether we are, a highly export-based economy or not.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add?
No, thanks for the opportunity to chat.
Pleasure. And thank you for letting us learn as we go. Don't record that.